Hello. I'm here. I did it. I made it. Wasn't sure I was going to make it, but I'm here. And wherever you are, if you're here, if you're watching live, if you're watching this on the replay, whatever you are doing, I hope that you are having a whatever time. It is actually morning for me. So if it's morning for you or whenever you're watching this, then happy day. Today is December 12th, so it's 12/12. So I thought it would be a good day to start a new tradition. And over the past year or so, I started writing my own tarot spreads because a lot of the tarot spreads um, that come with decks or in deck books or come in tarot books, they tend to just repeat the same ones over and over again. And I think that's mainly because a lot of the deck creators put in their guidebooks, and they put in for, they kind of say, I want this for anybody who's picking up a tarot deck to be able to use it. So a lot of the tarot spreads in guidebooks or in tarot books are geared more towards beginners. And so there's like the one card spread and the two card spread and then the three card spread that's very popular in the past, present, future. And I liked that. But when I had specific things that I wanted to address, very specific things, then I a lot of times really couldn't find what I wanted to use in a tarot spread. And I love using tarot spreads. I know a lot of people will just kind of put down their cards and read the cards, and that's a great way to read tarot or any kind of reading of cards that you do. But for me, I always want to start somewhere. I always want to have something. I know how many cards there are, I know what the questions are, and I can add to it if I want to, or I can use it in a little different way. But I always like to start with a spread and with the questions. And so I started doing and writing my own, and starting coming up with questions that, when I was faced with an issue that I wanted to explore more, then I would just write my own. And so I've I've done this for the past year or so, and so I've collected quite a few of my own personal tarot spreads, and eventually maybe I'll put them in a book or something like that. But right now, I thought it would be fun just to go live on Fridays and connect with you, connect with what you're doing, and kind of let you go into the weekend with some reading and with some card guidance. And I've also got several people that I'm going to pull cards for later on after I do the reading. So stick around for that. If you dropped me an emoji beforehand, and I think I got everybody, I hope I got everybody. If I didn't, let me know, and I can message you a card. But for today, this is a reading that I did a long time ago. This is, I think, one of the first ones that I did, and it is called Acknowledging Your Upbringing. And so this one is, a lot of us have things in our past, whether it's with our family that we grew up with, or with friends that we had during those formative years. And so there's things that happen to us, things that either externally happen to us, or things that we went through as we grew older for whatever reason. And a lot of times there was something maybe in your past that just really sticks with you, that really is, just that little shadowy part of yourself that really just stays with you. And sometimes it's hard as we're adults, And we think, oh, well, this happened to me as when I was a kid, or this was something, that a teacher said, and that but it's still something that kind of stays with you. And you wonder at the time, why is this, why is this happening? Why did this happen to me? What is it that made me have to go through this? And so, this was something that I kind of think about, and I like to think back at my childhood and how I grew up. I had a pretty good childhood, and I had, lots of support. I had lots of friends. I had, a good family. And so, but there were, kind of external things that happened to me as I was growing up. And, I think about them now, and I think, how is it still affecting me? What are maybe some decisions that I've made going forward that were a result of this? And even if it was something that was maybe a little bit challenging at the time, or a lot challenging at the time, it was something that kind of informed how I live my life today. When I was doing this reading, I was thinking about one specific thing, that when I was probably in elementary school, and I had to ride the bus, and to school and from school. And it was there was a kid on my bus, and he really probably just had a lot of problems at home, probably had a lot of problems at school too. And so he tended to take his anger out on the other kids that were on the bus. So he would sit behind me and, some of the other kids that were on the bus, and just say mean things, or just reach up and, tap us on the head, or something like that, just to, I guess, just to, because he was just feeling these things that he didn't know how to verbalize. And so he was kind of taking it out on us. And, I thought that, and at the time it was really hurtful. And I was at the point where I, would fake being sick so that I wouldn't have to go on the school bus. And so, my parents, especially my mom, who was a Pisces and was very intuitive, knew that something was up, and something, that I wasn't really sick, that I was, something was happening. And so, she sat me down and talked to me about, what was going on. And I told her what was happening. And, just talking about it helped a lot, just acknowledging that there was a problem, that something was happening. And, she told me some things to do, sit behind the bus driver, talk to other people on the bus, so that, it just kind of would take the wind out of his sails. And, eventually he would move on and get bored, or, stop riding the bus, or, whatever. So, but it was, it was really hard at the time. And it was something that, just really, stuck with me, and something that, I thought about and thought, why, and tried to be, more empathetic to him, thinking what could he have been going through to have, to have those actions. And so it was, and this was something that I was kind of thinking about as I was doing this this reading, because I was thinking about, what are things that we bring with us, even though now it doesn't seem like a big deal, then it was really a big deal. And how does it affect me now? And so this was what I did when I wrote this reading. And so I'll show you just briefly what the spread looks like. This is what the spread looks like. So there's 5 cards, 5 questions. And so I'm going to go and do it, but I'm going to do it for all of us, because all of us have had things in our past, in our upbringing, that have affected us today. And sometimes we've been able to really work with them and do the shadow work and work through some of those things. And some of the things may be sticking around, may still be, you're just wondering, why is it that that's something that always comes up for me? Or why is it that, when I think about the past, this is something that I always come back to? or I still have questions about it. And so we're going to do this reading together. So that's going to be kind of my background in doing it. And you can think about, you can just listen right now and just listen to the questions, and then you can go back because I'll have the spread for you when this posts on my channel. I'll put a picture of the spread here and in the posts, and probably share it on Facebook as well so that you can all see it. And you can go back and do it for yourself if you want to do that. But right now you can just kind of listen, and I'm going to be pulling cards for all of us collectively and from acknowledging our upbringing. So, number one, the question is, what was your upbringing like? So, this kind of collectively, and our upbringing that we're asking about today was something. This is the Five of Cups, and this is the steampunk tarot, and this is the steampunk tarot that I'm using right now. And this one is the Five of Cups, is that card of something, some good, some bad. You see, there's a few cups that are still standing up. There's a few cups that are falling over. And so here and that's probably, most of us, of how we grow up. We grow up, some things are really good and some things were not very good. And so, acknowledging that there were, if it seemed that there were more bad than good, really focusing on some of the good things and balancing that out. And if there seemed, if there were a lot of good things, what were some of the bad things, and how do they, how does that all together, inform you today? So question 2 is, what important lesson did you learn? So from that kind of the good, having the good and the bad, and needing to acknowledge both, we want to then focus on this Six of Wands. So the Six of Wands here this is a victory card. This is, acknowledging that there was more than one thing or more than one influence in your life that helped you find that balance, and more than one thing that's going to help you going forward, working with any of those things that you still feel like that you need to work with as as in the future as an adult. So acknowledging and being, very grateful for those things and bringing them forward with you. So then number 3 is, what needs to be reclaimed from your upbringing? And so here we have the Ace of Pentacles, and this is just a beautiful card, this Ace of Pentacles. And I have to hold it sideways, hold it so that I keep having to adjust it, but there it is, there, straight up. So the Ace of Pentacles is that, what needs to be reclaimed, that just that feeling grounded, that feeling of that something, you can make something new out of this. And if it's something that you are struggling with, what can you make it into? What can you form it into? Something new that you're working with today. So reclaim that knowledge that you can change it, that you can work with it. Personally, you can work with something that's still bothering you. You can work it, and you can change it, and you can bring it forward, and you can make it into something that works for you today. And then number 4 is, what conflict needs to be resolved? And here we have the Seven of Cups. And this, I just love this card because it's all about choices. It's all about looking at all of these things, all of these feelings that are coming up. Because if you are looking back, you are probably acknowledging lots of different feelings, lots of different things, lots of different ways that you could have reacted at the time, and going back over it and thinking, oh, well, how could I have done this differently? Why didn't I do this? Or, why didn't I say that? And that's not what we want to do. So, that's kind of causing the conflict, is not berating yourself for the way that you didn't handle it, but thinking, how can I handle it today? How am I going to do it differently today? And then finally, we have, what can we bring into today that can add to our present story? And this, the Nine of Pentacles, and this really goes along with the Ace of Pentacles, that we're reclaiming this. We're reclaiming the fact that we can make this, whatever happened to us, into something better and into something that we claim for ourselves. And now this is going to bring us into this beautiful place of growth, this beautiful place of having a knowing that we've done this work on ourselves, and knowing that we've done this for ourselves, and so that we can claim it, so that we can, we can let go of the conflict. We can start finding that balance between the good and the bad, and bringing it into something that has grown and is beautiful, and that we claim for ourselves. So that's it. That is it for today. And I hope that gives you some maybe some, tapping into something that you've been, maybe that's, especially this time of year, because I'm doing this, in mid-December. And this is a time of year that can be very Five of Cups, that can be very, like, some really good things are happening and some really hard things are happening, just depending on your upbringing, depending on your traditions, depending on, what's happening for you at this very moment. So this is a good time to do this, and to look back and see if there's something that you can reclaim. So even if you don't want to use this, as, like I said, I'll post all these questions for you so that you can see this. And if you don't want to do your own spread with it, or your own reading with it, you can always use it as journaling, or use it just as meditation, and really get some good answers for it as well. So I'll have that, the questions for you, so you can use it on later on. But I do want to do some cards for the people who requested cards for today. And for these cards, this is the Yuletide Tarot. And so this is a really fun cards to use for this Yule season that we're going into. So cards here. Okay, and this first card is for Risa. So Risa, your card is Mistletoe, the Lover's card. So you can use this in any way that you want, and think about how you can, it can be, very, very literal, and just find someone that you want to kiss under the mistletoe. Or it can be something, you making a choice, to just be happy and to embrace the joy of this season. So, Risa, that's your card, Mistletoe, or the Lovers. All right, so next up, Lynn, this is your card. And so, Lynn, today we have the Six of Canes, and the canes in this deck are the swords. So the Six of Swords. So this might be, something you might need to go somewhere, or something you might need to have delivered, or something that you might be looking at, and it's causing you a little bit of headache, and you need to just let it go, so that you can move into something, and move into better waters, or you just might need to do some Christmas shopping, or some holiday shopping, or not do some shopping. It's up to you. All right, so Lynn, that was your card, the Six of Canes, or the Six of Swords. And Marina, this is your card. Marina, we have, this is balance. And this is the temperance card. And so it's renamed in this deck. So in the traditional deck, it is temperance. And temperance is moderation, finding that balance, finding that place in between, finding that place where you feel really good and you can move forward from that place. And sometimes that means putting up boundaries so that you are not put off balance by something outside of yourself. So, Marina, that is your card, and that is balance or temperance. All right, Annalise, you are next. This is your card. And Annalise, you have the 7 of good cheer, the 7 of cups, and we just had this in the reading, so that's a good sign. So what are your choices? Look out there. What's going on? What do you need to choose from? What are the choices that are good for you, and what do you need to just let go of because it's not a good choice for you? So again, Annalise, this is for you, the 7 of good cheer or the 7 of cups. All right, Athena, you're next. Do your card. All right, this card is for Athena, and you have the Queen of Candles. And candles here is the wands, and so traditionally it's the wand suit. So the Queen of Candles or the Queen of Wands. So do something that sparks your joy today. And it can be something very small. It doesn't have to be something large. I mean, it can be, but do something that it's very small that just brings you joy. And so Athena, this is for you, the Queen of Candles or the Queen of Wands. All right, Christina, you're next. All right, Christina, your card is Father Christmas, and this one is in, traditionally it's the Hermit. And so this is something that you might need some alone time. You might need some time to reflect, and you might need some time to ponder and just to gather your thoughts. But then, whatever it is that you're learning, whatever it is that you are, whatever wisdom that you're gaining in your alone time, share it with someone. Let them know that, something that you've learned, something that you've observed, or just, say hello to someone and just make that connection, because Father Christmas or the Hermit is about being alone, but it's also about, bringing that light into the world and bringing that light to someone else. So Christina, that is yours, Father Christmas or the Hermit. And then the last is for Valerie. And Valerie, your card is the 4 of Candles or the 4 of Wands. And the 4 of Wands is very traditionally a celebration card, something that is celebrated. Something, it can be something very small, like just, going out, for dinner to celebrate a good week. It can be something big, like a celebration. It can be like a wedding or a party that you're going to. So this for me is that 4 of Candles, the 4 of Wands is saying that there's something out there, there's something to be celebrated, and embrace it. Embrace that celebration and let yourself let yourself be happy. Give yourself a little pat on the back for something that you've accomplished. So, Valerie, that is your card, the Four of Candles or the Four of Wands. So that is it for today. And I hope that if you are here live, that you made it live and that you've enjoyed this reading. And again, I'll have all of this information for you, and so that you can see all of the questions for the reading, and you can do it for yourself later. And I also have a picture of the cards so you can see what we pulled all together. And if you do, if you would like me to, I won't put your specific cards on, in the public description. But if you want me to message you a picture of the cards, just let me know, and I'll be glad to do that. So I'm going to hopefully do this again next Friday and have this as as a tradition to do a reading on Fridays. And probably next Friday, I will probably move it to 11 to put it a little bit later. And so I can, get here and get here, and it'll be a little bit later for other people that are maybe live and coming in different time zones, because I'm in the East Coast. So anyway, thank you for being here. If you're here, thank you for watching. If you're watching, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you do get notifications of when I'm going to go live, and what the topic is. And if you want me to pull a card for you, you can always let me know. And also, I am doing videos I'm doing the Lenormand class. So if you want to be a part of that, then you'll get a notification for that. And when I put up new videos about the things that I'm doing and learning. So again, have a great day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.